Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. I'm here with Tyler Jones. We're recording on a Monday night after the Hawks made a splashy trade, sending out Zaccharie Risacher and bringing in Dort and Ryan Nembhard. There's a lot to parse up here. Uh, but maybe just start with what sort of role do you expect for Dort?
Role, not sure. I think they're gonna, you know, the defense is obvious. The point of attack defense in particular, I think it's pretty clear this offseason the Hawks wanted to get tougher and more physical, as well as having um, options beyond just Dyson Daniels guard the best player. Because it did a lot of games did basically become all right. Dyson, you guard whoever's got it going, and then we'll figure out the rest behind you. And I feel like they didn't want to put that much pressure on one player defensively for a full 82 game season because we've talked about it a lot on this podcast. Like the reality is all the NBA teams continue to get better every offseason. It's going to be harder than ever to win games. It just is. And combined with there's not going to be tanking to save you the second half of the season. The Hawks cannot afford they can't afford to have the same slide that they did last year, where they were a good team. Like they were a good team to begin the season. Then the injuries hit and they were just basically uncompetitive for about another month. They can't afford that because there's no guarantee that you're gonna run up against a bunch of teams that either aren't good or aren't trying to win. And like the aren't trying to win factor is not going to be there, especially with the new tanking rules. So I think Dort adds primarily this was a we've got to get Dyson some help defensively. And I think Lou Dort, add him in the room with Aaron Wiggins, Nikhil Alexander Walker, and Dyson Daniels, along with some other guys. Like I think it's a pretty good start for what the Hawks want to do defensively.
I thought it was interesting that when the Hawks traded with Oklahoma City to get Aaron Wiggins, that felt like the beginning of the end for Zach. Like it was hard, if Zach's not in the starting five, if Wiggins is on the team, like how do you even play Zach at that point? Like it just didn't seem like they were carving out a role for him, and that felt like okay, I see the writing on the wall. It's almost over for Zach, and they ended up trading him, weeks later. But sometimes you get on the podcast and you talk about player X or player Y, and you say that player is not a wing. How do you feel about Lou Dort? Is he still a wing in the year 2026?
I don't think the Hawks want to be playing wings in general. Like I think they want guards. They want defined skills on offense and defense. They don't want like nebulous wings who only have one trait outside of their size anymore. Like they don't want that type of basketball player. They want forwards. They want guards. They want centers. Wings.
Okay. Well,
I'm just speaking in generality here, but I just think in general the NBA is moving away from these wings that don't have defined skills, defined physical traits that they can lean on. Like I said this a couple times throughout the day. Like, Zachary, if he was just a better like if he was the rebounder that Jalen Johnson was, or even Dyson Daniels, he's still on the team. Like full stop, he is still on this basketball team. But you would, you would see it at the free throw line. Like he would get tossed around at the free throw line. The Hawks couldn't have him be one of the three guys grabbing defensive rebound. It had to be Dyson Daniels. It had to be um, or another guard. It had to be Nikhil over Zach. They couldn't trust him to grab the defensive rebound off a miss of a free throw. I know that's just one aspect of the game of basketball, but I think it illustrates my point here. Rebounding is hyper important now, and I think what the Hawks are looked at, what they see, what Quinn wants and what Ansi wants is guys who affect the possession game. And Lou Dort has his flaws as a basketball player. Is he a wing? I don't know. I think he needs to transition more. He's played like a guard these last couple of years. I think he honestly needs to transition more to being a forward. Similar to how PJ Tucker um, carved out a role for him in his career, where it's more screening, diving to the rim. You take spot up threes every once in a while, but like usage should not be he should not be having a high usage for this Hawks team. And like he really his role should probably be a little bit more streamlined. But I think there is an opportunity for him to grow into that type of player because he does have the physical skill sets and he's a decent passer as well. And this Hawks offense is so different than what OKC does offensively. Like moving is just a necessity for all five guys on the floor and relocating and getting to point A to point B. So maybe that might produce something that he hasn't shown in his NBA career. But like, if you're asking me, he's a wing. I'm just flat out responding. Like, I don't think Quinn wants wings. Like, I really don't. I don't think Quinn wants them. I don't think he's very interested in guys who their game is entirely predicated on making 3 pointers or not. Like I think he just wants better, more, you know, he wants guys with just the ability to put the ball on the floor, the ability to drive when the driving lane is there, play through contact on offense. I think that's even more important than just pure shooting. Like I think like if Zach was a stronger basketball player, he would still be on the Hawks, and the Hawks would gladly, make the decision to even if he was still an inconsistent player. Like if he was Kuminga, strength wise, like this is not even, we're not having this conversation, but he's so weak. Combined with, the Hawks, they got better. We've talked about this a couple times. The Hawks got better faster than his timeline. Like they could not afford to have the Zaccharie Risacher question because, like you said, Kevin, like once they traded for Wiggins, his role, him having a reliable role on this Hawks team ended. Like I mean, because Wiggins is just a better basketball player than he is right now. So I I like if you ask me like is Dort a wing, I would probably say no, but like I just don't think that's what Quinn's looking for right now.
How do you go about managing Dyson Daniels and Lou Dort? Like there's a certain duplicity that you could have these two defenders. Like how many minutes can they play together a game? Is it pretty much going to be we're going to have one of these guys on the court at all times?
We'll see when the season starts. I don't know. Like I got to see how Lou Dort looks, in this Hawks system before I make any judgment. Just because, like again, like just to the point, like I really don't want Dort to be forced to shoot the ball. Like if a possession ends with Dort just taking over 3 point after 3 pointer, the Hawks are losing, that offensive exchange. So you're probably and we have, you already have these concerns with Dyson offensively as well. But at the same time, if you have those two on the floor, maybe you're not playing in half court. Maybe you're getting a lot of steals. You're absolutely disrupting the team, and you're playing in transition where the Hawks are looking to be dominated again next year, depending on if everything goes well. So like I could see Quinn. I think Dyson and Dort are going to play plenty because Dort's one of the better players on the team. Like let's just be honest here. Dort is absolutely one of the what seven best players on this basketball team right now. So, like, I mean, honestly, um, they're I could totally see him starting. You know, if they want to manage CJ's minutes here, you know, I could see the Hawks doing that, and trying to like just limit CJ's minutes throughout the regular season. So it'll be interesting to see how Dort looks again, how Dort looks because he's had good stretches of offensive basketball in his career as well. It's very interesting. Both Wiggins, I feel like both Wiggins and Dort had a down year offensively last year, a little bit for the OKC Thunder team, and that's why I think the Thunder were more comfortable with trading those two guys in particular. But they were still overall good players in the NBA last year, and I do think Quinn's system tends to elevate certain guys, you know, because they can put the ball on the floor. Like Wiggins and Dort can put the ball on the floor, and they can, they're decent drivers. So I do think if the lanes are like to me, if as long as the Hawks offense is successful with Dort on the floor, him and Dyson are going to play. It's not going to be an issue. Because I haven't seen that much of Dort, but I do feel like Dort got better. It's such a strange context with OKC just because Shea does so much isolation. But it, I think Dort took a little bit too much of the blame for just the Thunder's lack of shooting as a team, which probably won't be weirdly enough won't be that big of a concern with the Hawks just because Onyeka is a significantly better jump shooter than Chet Holmgren. Like I know Chet Holmgren, they use him as a stretch five, but like Onyeka's just a different beast. And like I do think there might be some value of getting Dort out there, playing him as much as possible alongside Onyeka in particular, just based on his shooting, and maybe that'll help insulate his offensive foibles a little bit more.
If you're up 3 points with 20 seconds left and you need to stop coming out of a timeout, like what lineup is going out there for the Hawks? Given that, of course, situationally it might change, but just as a general
Kevin,
starter, what do you think
Kevin,
the
are you
trend will be?
are, are you asking me or are you asking what you think Quinn Snyder's going to do? Because I feel
Let's
like
do
we have a
both. Sure. Fire up both
good
if you think
idea.
they're not the same.
I mean, it's not the same. It's going to be whoever the five guys Quinn's had on the floor for the last 2 minutes of the game. That's who's going to be on the floor. You ask me what I think they should do. Play all your good defensive players to take away, 3 point line. But again, Jalen's probably going to be on the floor, so it's probably going to be some. I mean, it's probably going to be Nikhil, Dyson, Dort, Jalen, or Kambu, almost certainly. I don't see him deviating that much. I don't think Wiggins. I don't think even though like Wiggins in isolation is probably a better defender than Jalen Johnson. You need Jalen Johnson for defensive rebounding purposes,
Exactly.
and Okongwu is just the team's best center, full stop. So like you want him out there. You trust Okongwu more than Landale. Zubi Ejiofor is not going to be ready. He's not going to be better than Okongwu defensively in certain like as a center. I don't think Zubi's going to be better than Okongwu as a center, but I do think he'll have a bigger impact. But it'll be playing next to centers similar to Moge. But if Zubi's at center, I think they're gonna struggle to grab defensive rebounds. It's a real weakness of his as a basketball player. So like I think it's gonna be those five guys overall. Maybe you switch up. I mean, we'll see with Nikhil. Overall, I still rate Nikhil pretty highly as his defender. So I would guess he would be out there. He is the team's best screen navigator. He's one of the best in the league still. But uh, it, it, and so like I would assume it'd be those five guys. But the thing was we know what Quinn's going to do. Like he's not going to deviate from the rotation. Like he's probably going to want CJ to be out there on the floor, just so that maybe you can get, even if they score, you can attack quickly. You don't have to call timeout, play against a set defense. Because I'm to Quinn's credit here, he does understand the Hawks operating in the half court is a weakness. And so, like, I do understand him not wanting to go offense defense so often just because of their shortcomings in the half court. But that could change. Like, that's just true. That was true of last year's team. That doesn't necessarily require it to be true of the team of the future. Like, if Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels continue to improve, maybe they're better in the half court. And if they're better in the half court, maybe you can trust the team to go offense defense a little bit more and sub Dort for CJ. But that, I think, just in general, the closing lineups are going to swing between Dort and CJ depending on who's playing better. I think who's been playing better last 10 or 15 games or so. Because I feel like those two guys are going to battle for that fifth starter spot, quote unquote. But it's not really going to be battle. It's going to be more of a decision, maybe from like the entire Hawks organization, what they want to do with CJ. Because again, he is getting older, and they probably don't want to wear out the tires so early in the season. And like Dort's used to starting. Like Dort's used to starting. Um, I know CJ as well, but Dort's still in the prime of his career, still a good defender, and like we talk about the big picture stuff in a second, but like the Hawks did get better with this trade. Like, he absolutely got better. Like, there's no question about this for this season. And like Dort is a massive upgrade over the more just the wing slop that the Hawks have been throwing out there for the last couple of years. Like, he's just a better basketball player than those guys. Even if he isn't prototypical wing size, I'm like, I don't
So
care
he
about
is a wing.
prototypical wing forward size, whatever, man. Strength is what matters. Like, that's what people gotta understand,
Yeah.
man. Like th- people gotta get over, like, oh, we don't have, well, I, to me, I think strength is so much more important in today's NBA than like wingspan in general. Like, you need guys who can play with strength consistently, and I think Dort's going to help a lot. So that's why I think he starts, but CJ, it's I CJ came into when the Hawks traded for him, he was coming off the bench for Risacher. I do think there was a plan for CJ to be the sixth man to juice the offense a little bit. And so like there could be some stuff still with the Hawks still doing that. And I do think just overall team building wise, Ansi understood that for as good as the Hawks were, they were super, super reliant on the five starters. Like, they were super reliant on really one lineup hard carrying them throughout games. And then just like trying to buy minutes for each individual guy, playing them multiple, you know, every big game. Dyson, you got to play 38 plus. Nikhil, you got to play 38 plus. Sorry, guys. And Jalen, you got to play, 38 plus. Like, those three guys in particular, and then with the center thing with Onyeka as well. So I feel like the point of this offseason season was like, I got to get Quinn some more lineups he could trust to keep those guys' minutes down, particularly in the regular season. The playoffs is a different story, but we got to get more regular season contributors who are good players, who have strengths and weaknesses. We know we can coach around and we can do this and that. And more important, that Quinn Snyder can trust. Like, a lot of the issues, to bring it back to Zach a little bit, is that Quinn Snyder just never trusted Zaccharie Risacher, particularly on the offensive side of the floor. Um, and honestly, defensively as well. Like, we talked about the defensive rebounding, issues. Like, he just and like Zach never earned the trust, and like that's unfortunate. He's a young player. Like, I think as he physically matures, he's going to be the basketball player that he wants to be. But he's just like, the issue is the Hawks don't have, like, they just don't have that runway anymore. Like, they've got to win games. Like, they have to present themselves as being an up and coming team in the NBA if they want to move to the next level. And they can't afford to have guys who aren't there, dragging them down because they have to play. Number one overall pick has to play. I do think if they could do it over again, like, he's in the G League or something, or like he's not even, or he's still in Europe until he learns how, how to contribute consistently on a basketball floor to help his team win games beyond just fast breaks, beyond just catch and shoot 3 pointers. Like he and I like again, I did feel that Zach was starting to get there towards the end of the year, but it's just like it's different for a team that can't afford for a guy like him to be making mistakes. Like they just can't afford for anybody really to be making mistakes. And so that's kind of where I feel like the Hawks made the decision to part with Zach here.
When you look at this trade, do you feel like it tells you something about either as a Hawks team, this is how we want to play, or as a team in the NBA, we recognize that the style of basketball that's going to be successful is fill in the blank, or maybe some version of both? Like, are they recognizing trends or their own identity or anything on that line of thought?
I think that's like a back end explanation. I think the front end is the contracts. Just he's on it, Dort's on another expiring contract that they could potentially use at the trade deadline to acquire, a disgruntled star on a contract that they got to fill the salary with, make it easier to make trades. Or if he has a good year, you have a certain leverage and you resign him in the offseason, all things, depending on how the free agency go. I just think it was more of a contractual, like to me, this was a contract first, type of trade in that we got the better contract combined with us getting the better players. Well, us getting the better players as a bonus. I do think they were really afraid of the Zach because it was 17 mil next year player option that team option that they had to make the decision on before the season starts. Like, and for a Hawks team that, you know, you see how tough it is. Like, if you're a Hawks fan and you're like, all right, how do we get rid of CJ, Corey Kispert? Do we attach the first? Like, did you guys want to do that again with Zaccharie next off season? Because they couldn't just but they couldn't just decline the option. They and not necessarily because of the optics, just more of the fact that if he does break out, we can't sign him. We can't sign him. But if he doesn't, it's a negative gamble where it's like, and that could lead to bad feelings on both sides of the agent.
Yes.
The player, like be like, oh, you decline my option, like you're not going to play me, get me out of here. So I do think the Hawks are getting ahead of a bad situation come October with Zach, because we talked about this with Wiggins. Like to me, the writing on the wall with Zach was, when Quinn got rehired. Once the Hawks committed to the direction of Quinn Snyder Ball, it was the end of Zach, because it's pretty clear that Quinn, um, he's just not. It's not that he's not interested in developing. That's not true. But there's a certain way you have to play basketball under Quinn Snyder, and Zach just couldn't do it for the reasons we've talked about on this podcast.
I still think Zachary is going to be a pretty good player somewhere down the line. At the same time, if you're Zachary's agent or if you're the Dallas Mavericks, why on God's earth do you want Zaccharie Risacher on that team that is all forwards?
It's a good gamble. I mean, I don't know about that. I think I to me, it's a good gamble for them just because they don't have their picks. They don't have their picks in the upcoming years. And like Zach is a good second draft guy to take. Like he's like the prototypical second draft guy because they have a extended timeline here with Cooper Flag. Like they're not in a rush, even though their books are a mess and they don't have their picks. These are the flyers you have to take. Like if you're a team like the Mavs are right now, where your books are a mess, you don't have first round draft picks, but you have Cooper Flag, you got to take flyers on young guys. And like for all of Zach's flaws, there are the bones of a genuinely good NBA player. But like again, hit he's got to put in like real work in the off season to get the frame that he needs to be able to compete on the NBA floor. Like, because right now he just does not have it. When I, I've said this consistently multiple times about Zach, when he's comfortable physically, you see the strengths of his game. He's just not there on the NBA floor. It's just too easy to body him, too easy to knock him off the spots for like any caliber of basketball player right now. He's got to get and to me, I'm like, he's got to work on his body, his frame, his balance, all of that to become the basketball player that he wants to be. And I think he can get there. It's just that again, like I talked about with the Hawks, the Mavericks. I mean, the Mavericks is like, what do we have to lose here? Like, all right, Ryan Nembhard's a good player, a good, young point guard. But like, if that's all it takes to get, a 6'10" good shooting forward, like, I understand. I understand the risk taking that they're making because the money is irrelevant to them. For the Hawks, the money, the Hawks are at a position where literally every cent matters. It hurts them that Corey Kispert's on their books right now. It's hurting them that Buddy Hield's on their books. It hurt them that Buddy Hield, even if they waived him, he was still going to get guaranteed $3 million. Like, it hurts them to even do stuff like that. So like, when every cent matters, you cannot afford to be like, if Zach was making less money next year, like if he was on like even like the 10th overall picks salary slot, I don't think they trade him. But because his salary is so high, the Hawks can't afford to just not have a role for him. And so like, and I think the Hawks were like, all right, it's 2 years of just not being on the level that we need him to be. We got to go in a different direction here as an organization.
That's fair. I hear you that the money situation in Dallas and the draft pick situation in Dallas is very different than what it is in Atlanta. And so it's a good flyer for them. At the same time, I just don't think that they have the personnel to use him in a useful way. I think he's going to struggle offensively there. Like, they're not going to have the players that can set him up in transition. They're not going to have the players that can set him up for open threes. I don't know.
But to
Like,
me, that's fine.
that team needs guards so badly, and they just got rid of one in Nembhard.
Zach needs to play. Like, forget all this guard crap. Oh, he needs to be set up. He needs to play basketball. He needs to be able to play through his mistakes. He couldn't do that in Atlanta. You make a mistake on either in the floor, Quinn is taking you out the game. He does that with all his guys. Like, he's not trusting some kid, in his system, and he's shown to do that these last couple years. He needs to go out there and fail so he can learn what he needs to work on to get better. So that's why I'm like, I don't think the Mavs care about that. Like, again, they don't have their pick. Like, what does it matter if he's struggling? Like, of course he's going to struggle. Like, he's in a similar situation that he was in Atlanta this past season. But like, to me, he should be fine. Like, he shouldn't care about that. He should just be happy he's going to have a defined role. He's almost certainly going to start. He's almost certainly going to play a lot. Like, I think that's what he should care about. Like, if he's a competitor, like, who cares about I don't have a guard to set me up perfectly. Like, he was getting set up he was getting set up fine. It's just like, to me, the issue wasn't like, oh, he wasn't getting set up open. Like, he got plenty of open shots. He just wasn't he made them enough, but he wasn't an elite shooter. Combined with, he's not a good ball handler right now. And so, like, I just think, maybe in a different, a different team, in a different team, a different context, um, maybe he can figure something else beyond just catch and shoot 3 pointers, because like, that's not going to help his game. That's not going to help him get better. So that's kind of where I'm at with him on that. But like, to me, I think this Mavericks situation is great for him because he needs to go to a bad team that's not trying to win every possession like the Hawks were.
I do like that maybe they can use him more as a point of attack defender and he can get reps in that role. Like, they used Najee Marshall a lot last season in that role, and they probably need some more of that, and maybe he can help them do that and get comfortable with that. But let's talk about Ryan Nembhard for a minute. When the trade was first announced, I think you sort of figured that he might be one of the players that's not around because they're going to have to at some point cut down from 17 to 15. I think since then you've had a change of heart. What do you feel about Ryan Nembhard at this point?
I mean, he's a good young guard. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a good playmaker, um, decent shooter. So I think he has a chance to like start the season being the backup point guard over Kingston Fleming. So that's going to piss off a lot of Hawks fans, but I could see that being the case, just because right now he is physically stronger. Like he's just an older player, stronger than Kingston, and so that could be the reason why he plays over Kingston to start his career. But I could honestly, I could see him and Kingston playing together. Like I think just he helps the Hawks a lot in the fact that he's another ball handler. They needed more ball handling, and I think he's going to help them in that regard in particular. And I think he's fine defensively as well, even though he's small. Like I think he's a competitor on that end. So, um, like to me, he has more defined skills than Zach does right now. So like I could totally see him being in the rotation to start the season. Uh, just because I mean we talked about a lot of stuff Kingston needs to work on, and like it's a competitive Hawks team, man. Minutes are not going to be guaranteed for any guy, so like it's going to come down to who's the best player. I think he's better than Devin Carter overall, just because I don't think Devin Carter's a point guard, but um, so like I think that's where he has an edge over him, and again we you know they clearly needed to upgrade that position. Like they needed more guards beyond just CJ McCollum. It was pretty striking how Gabe Vincent, even though he couldn't like he wasn't the player that he used to be. He was still like an upgrade over what the Hawks were doing during the season last year, just because he is a guard and he could run an offense. And they need more guys who can run an offense for them when Dyson really isn't in the game. Because it just felt like too often when Dyson's not in the game, the offense is just like, what do we do, guys? So um, hopefully, uh, he's on the team because I have started to grow to like his game overall. Like I do think he'll help, but it's going to be a tough. You know, camp's going to be tough, and we don't know how the Hawks what Ansi's going to do to get them down to 15. So it's not guaranteed he's going to make the roster, but I do think actually he has a better bet than making the roster than I thought initially, just based on what I saw. Like he has good, like he the Mavericks were a significantly better basketball team when he played last year as a rookie. So like that means a lot. So like I think he can help.
I know a lot of it's going to depend on training camp and preseason and how the players play. And I'm sure they want to have a competitive environment where players are vying for jobs. But if you like crystal ball and try to make your best approximation, like how do they go from 17 players to 15 players to forming some sort of rotation out of the players that they have?
I'm not sure because like it could be 18. Like there's Kaminga could be back. Like as funny as that sounds, or
Yeah.
the basketball player that they trade Kaminga for could be on the roster, and that might change and stuff. So it's hard to really say right now until like to me we'll have more clarity once the Kaminga situation is settled. Maybe right now I I don't know. If you ask me, the guys who are liable to be not on the team, it's probably like some combination of Kispert, Buddy Hield. You gotta unfortunately you have to have Mo Gay. Um, you have to have add Devin Carter and then Ryan Nembhard. You know the guys who are going to struggle here to see if they or I think those are the four main guys who are on the cut wire, if that cut line, if that makes sense. I think the rest of the guys on the Hawks right now are pretty solidified. It's you know it's kind of tough that they have a roster spot given away to Henry Vasar right now, considering he's not ready to help. But that's the trade off they had to make when they took him. You know, it, when they traded up to take him. So like that, that's where taking, that's where guaranteeing somebody a roster spot like that can hurt you when he's not ready to contribute. But
That's right.
we'll see what they do to get there. Again, I think the Kaminga once the Kaminga thing is settled, I think this is going to be pretty clear which direction the Hawks want to go with those four guys in particular.
I know we're running out of time, but like at the same time, to sort of rephrase that question another way, if you automatically put in the core five from last season, who else is an absolute stone cold lock to be in the rotation?
Dort, Wiggins, Jock Landale, and then we'll figure out the next two as the season goes on.
Agreed. All right. Well, thank you very much for doing this. And I guess we say goodnight, Bob.
Good night, Bob.